Duty in Newfoundland. This folio is 100 photographs collected during a tour of duty in Newfoundland, is dedicated to the officers and enlisted men who served in the first overseas base of the United States, and to those hundreds of Newfoundlanders who made the service happier and more enjoyable. These pictures, passed by the U.S. Army censor, portray some of the more picturesque aspects of civilian and Army life in Newfoundland and show some of the rugged beauty of this island. May they serve to recall an interesting interlude in your life. Published under the War Production Board regulations at no expense to the U.S. government. Reproductions by Central Engraving Company. Printed by Vies Printing Company. Prepared by E. Fred Miller. Copyrighted 1945. Cabo Tower on the top of Signal Hill is a landmark in world progress. Cabo Tower on the top of Signal Hill is a landmark in world progress. From here, in 1901, Marconi sent his first wireless message across the Atlantic Ocean. Quidi-Vidi-Gut is just a 30-minute walk from St. John's, and this picturesque setting is one of the most photographed and painted spots in all Newfoundland. The history of the 3rd Infantry dates back to the Revolutionary War, and their color guard is authorized to wear uniforms of that period. On July 4th, a July 4th parade on the drill field at APO 862. One of the most modern posts in the world, this is one of the enlisted men's barracks at APO 862. Post headquarters at APO 862, the garrison flag is at half-mast because this was Memorial Day. A 10-minute break in the PX at APO 862, where Private Good Soldier advanced to Master Sergeant in 6 weeks. The main store of the Post Exchange. Most popular items were good fountain pens and wind-proof cigarette lighters. Newfoundland girls and U.S. soldiers headed for a dance at the Corner Brook USO. The civilian on the right is Joe Murphy, popular USO director. The new USO building at Corner Brook has facilities for housing and entertaining 50 soldiers. Located in one of the most scenic sections of Newfoundland, soldiers on pass can rest, swim, fish, hike, bicycle, play tennis, go boating, and dance. Tom Myers, Signal Corps with Pumpkin, the construction team's mascot. The Signal Corps did a lot of work in Newfoundland, and these pictures of one of their jobs were published in the Army's Yankmate magazine. Much of the signal construction followed the railroad, and the crews traveled on these speeders. The weather slowed operations, but did not stop them. Here, a trailer is being set back on the tracks after being derailed by a snowdrift. Heavy coils of wire and hardware had to be carried up snow-covered mountains by hand or hauled up on improvised sleds, as shown here. Tractors or mechanized equipment could not be used because the snowdrifts in place were 40 feet deep, so the equipment went up the hard way. View of the construction through the rugged pass. Climbing and topping ice-covered poles is ordinarily a hazardous task. Here it is even more so because of the terrific velocity of the winds. Some pieces of equipment weighed almost 800 pounds and defied all efforts of the men to sled it up the steep grades. However, 2 dog teams and a special freight sled, combined with a lot of pushing, finally got the equipment to the top of the mountain. Portrait of one of the lead dogs. These Siberian Huskies averaged 45 pounds, but 17 dogs could pull twice as much weight as an equal number of men. Almost to their goal at the top of the mountain, men and dogs paused for a welcome break after a 5-mile haul. This huge rock in the middle of the Exploits River, a short distance below the dam of Grand Falls. A U.S. Army Jeep climbs a steep, winding road from Bowline, a fishing village about 15 miles north of St. John's. This gag shot taken on the post at APO 862 proves that winters in Newfoundland can be rugged. Icebergs make beautiful scenic pictures, but they are also dangerous to coastal shipping and occasionally do much damage to fish traps. Restaurants in Newfoundland are tea rooms, and tea is a full-course meal. This scene is a dining room at Ye Old Brigus Tea Room, Brigus, Newfoundland. The sitting room of Old Ye Brigus Tea Room boasts a beautiful fireplace. The round gadget with the long black handle hanging from the right of the fireplace is not a popcorn popper. It's a bed warmer. One of the Signal Corps cable crews with their speedier wait on the siding while the train rumbles past. Speedier patrolling is fun at first. Actually, it is a rough, jolting ride and dangerous. The repeater station, quarters, and crew. They keep Army communications open in spite of wind, snow, ice, and acts of God and men. Grand Falls, Newfoundland, located in the center of the timber area, this prosperous town is built around the paper mill industry, which in valuation is the largest industry in Newfoundland. Late spring view of Pouch Cove. The fish have not started to run yet, and the dories are drawn high up on the banks while the villagers do their plowing and planting. Loading freight on the Newfoundland Express. To many soldiers riding the express, going or coming on furlough, this was their best opportunity to see Newfoundland and was an education in itself. Dogs were used a great deal here. In the summer, they pulled these wooden wheeled carts, and in the winter, they hauled sleds. Near Shoal Harbor is a deposit of soil and sand that requires only to be molded and baked to be made into good quality bricks. This worker is on the way to the kiln with a load of bricks that will be baked a week over a wood fire. This is a typical scene at Buena Vista, where this well is a village water supply and the water is carried home on dog carts of various design. Captain Bob Bartlett, skipper of the FAM Morse, is a famous Newfoundlander who has explored and charted much of the Arctic areas. Wharf scene in St. John's. Supplies and commerce are carried on by these schooners between capital and outpost. Many villages cannot be reached by land, and these boats are their only means of transportation. The FAM Morse, 125-foot schooner of Captain Bob Bartlett, puts in at Brigus for supplies. Captain Bartlett and the Morse have made history in Arctic waters. View of Pouch Cove, Newfoundland. In the foreground are homemade anchors consisting of large rock lashed to wooden crosspieces. A soldier receives a sacrament of confirmation administered by the bishop in St. John's Cathedral. The sponsor, usually an older person, is, in this case, a fellow soldier. Sanctuary view of the confirmation of U.S. soldiers in the Cathedral of St. John's. The photo at the left is a close-up of the ceremony. Charlie McCarthy, Edgar Bergen, was the unanimous choice of the soldiers as the top entertainer brought to the island by the USO. He toured the island, visited practically every soldier outpost. Bergen introduced Charlie and Mortimer to the children of St. John's and met some of the village people. A fisherman shows them the size of a fish they caught, and Charlie registers amazement, while Mortimer shakes his head and says, "Is that so?" Seal flippers are considered a delicacy and bring $1 apiece, the sale of which goes entirely to the crew of the ship. Here, in the hold of the ship, a sealer strings up a set of 4, while another member keeps track by notching a stick. Unloading the seal skins at the tannery. Sealing is one of the Newfoundland industries that was sharply curtailed by the war. Sealing is usually operated on a share basis. A third goes to the outfitter, a third goes to the officers, and a third to the crew. A sealer shows a pelt of a young seal to a U.S. soldier with the hopes of promoting a sale. The pelts of these baby seals belong to the man who finds them, and the profits are his. This is a baby seal, the pelt of which is shown at the left. It has been cleaned, tanned, and mounted. They were eagerly sold for souvenirs, priced between $25 and $50. That's actually 2 vertical lines through that dollar sign or symbol. In Newfoundland, cod is king. The wood, pulp, paper mill industry is the biggest in dollars and cents evaluation, but far more people earn a living fishing, and cod is the principal fish. These fishermen are hauling up a fish trap. The largest numbers of fish are caught in this manner, in large nets placed in the ocean, anywhere up to 7 miles offshore. However, an investment of several $1,000s is necessary for boats and nets. Many fishermen jig them. This is more simple, as they just row out to the fishing grounds, throw over a jig, a large weighted treble hook, work it up and down a couple of times until they snag a fish and haul it in. When the boat returns with the catch, they are tossed up on the shore, and in some places on landing stages, using a single-tied pitchfork. Then, as shown in the picture at the left, they may be again tossed into a barrel to be carried to the cleaning shed. In the cleaning shed, one man slits them open, cleans the fish, and cuts off the head, while another man takes up from there, slits it down the tail, and cuts out the backbone. These men are extremely fast and dexterous, and the whole operation is done in a few seconds. After a few days under layers of salt, they are taken out and spread on these fillets to dry. These have been stacked up every evening and spread and turned daily, and on foggy or rainy days must be taken inside. After about a week of drying, they are ready to be barreled and shipped to the market, where they bring in around $15 a quintal. On the way back, after taking a fish from the traps, these fishermen build a fire in an old boiler, clean the fish, cut it up, and put it on the boil. After a while, they break up some of the hard biscuits in with some fish. Brew some tea, and by the time they reach land, breakfast is ready. The dish is called fishin' brewis. Landing stages in the fishing village. The fish have been tossed from the boat to the first platform, then to the second platform, then to the cleaning shed at the top of the bluff. A group of boys and men in the typical fishing village. They lead a hardy and rugged life, but are friendly and hospitable people. The fishing season lasts 3 1/2 or 4 months. But there is much to be done in the rest of the year also. In the winter, nets are woven and gear repaired. In the spring, boats must be gotten shipshape after being months out of water. Here a coat of hot tar is applied to the hull to prevent decay and leaks. Often new timber must be added, hulls rebuilt, and seams caulked. Most fishermen have built their own boats and are good craftsmen. Portrait study of a young Newfoundlander. His heritage is an outdoor life, hard work, and a wonderful sense of independence. Old Perlican, a calm, peaceful little fishing village on the northernmost tip of Avalon Peninsula, seldom visited by outsiders, where an army jeep attracted a lot of attention. Newfoundland is the land of boulders and bogs, cliffs and lake. Gravel is never found in streams, but rarely along the ocean beaches. This is one of the few spots it has to be shoveled out and hauled up to the road in these sleds. Farming is not easy, as much of the soil is rocky or boggy. However, most of the fishermen have about an acre under cultivation. The sides of the hill are most popular, as they are usually too much rather than too little rain, and it must be located so the excess will drain off. Potatoes are the main crop, with turnips and cabbage next. Mr. Ernest Young of Fishhills, Newfoundland, and his 6-year-old ox, which he uses for plowing and heavy hauling, located about 2 miles from the railroad and 4 miles from the nearest store. Sometimes this ox cart is the only link to the outside world. Wherever they are stationed, soldiers find good friends among the Newfoundlanders. Here one gets a ride on a 2-wheeled farm cart. In addition to fishing, most Newfoundlander villagers have a garden, a cow, or perhaps raise a few pigs or chickens. This hog-killing scene might be duplicated on any small American farm. While the homes of the fishermen are clean and painted, the fishing shacks never are. The result of weather-beaten boards are making interesting and picturesque studies in texture. Menage. Wherever there is an inlet where boats can find a sheltered harbor close to a good fishing ground, you can expect to find a few houses and drying flags, even if they have to be built on stilts on the side of a cliff. These Newfoundland boys earn their spending money by shooting puffins or seabirds and selling them on the high road price, 40 cents a brace. These youngsters are gathering kelp to use to fertilize the soil. As it washes the shore, they rake it up, carrying it to a point until they get a boatload. Then, row it home. Catlet, a small sardine-like fish, is also used for fertilizer in many localities. The worksman and his peavey. The rubber trousers and boots are necessary parts of a lumberman's attire in this country, where much of the land is bogged. These logs came from an area around Gander Lake. They were cut out below the ground and the curve formed by the roots at the base makes them valuable for ship's timbers. Small caterpillars are now used to snake the logs from the edge of the lake to the railroad tracks. They cannot be used farther inland because there are no roads. These logs are cut for lumber. They were floated down some small stream in Gander Lake. They then towed down to a large boom. Horses then drag them out of the lake to the sawmill. Logs for the pulp mills are much smaller and are cut at the right size to the woods. 2 engines haul this train of logs headed for the paper mill at Grand Falls. Before the war, the entire output of this mill was used by London Daily Mail, Hammermouth, Newfoundland. Hundreds of schooners of this type carry the bulk of supplies and commerce along the outposts of the island. Thousands of logs for the paper mill are brought to these barges. Unloaded by booms into the water, the current carries the logs into the jams at the right. Farm at Camp Royal on the Avalon Peninsula. Typical of all is this garden on the side of the hill, lined with deep furrows the water will drain off. Humber River scene. This is the Salmon River of Newfoundland, and sportsmen from all over the world have fished their stretch of water for the big ones. In June, the coast of Newfoundland is dotted with icebergs, many of which drift into coves and become grounded until they gradually melt and break up. Fishing salmon is probably Newfoundland's greatest appeal to vacationists. These, ranging from 5 to 8 pounds, are comparatively small as they run up to 40 pounds. However, on trout tackle, such as these were landed on, the odds are in the fish's favor. Salmon jumping the falls in the northwest river of Trepassey. They begin to come in from the ocean around the 20th of June, and the season doesn't close until the 15th of September. They differ from Pacific salmon in that they do not die after they spawn, but return again to the ocean. This dam on the Exploits River at Grand Falls furnishes power for the Anglo-Newfoundland Development Company's large paper mill. Falls on Salmon River, which flows into Gander River at Glenwood. This is the heart of the timber area from which thousands of cords are cut each year and floated down the streams to the mills. A fishing shack on the shores of Serpentine Lake, one of the famous salmon spots in Newfoundland. Every village has at least one church, usually on a hill and generally by far the best building. Money for the churches is often obtained by holding church days. The fishermen go out and the entire day's catch is turned over to the church. The Catholic Cathedral in St. John's is an old but imposing edifice situated upon the heights, commanding a splendid view of the city and harbor. Newfoundlanders are very religious people. Sunday in the village brings the people together at the church, many coming from miles around in horse-drawn sleighs. This is the church at St. Andrew's. A peaceful scene in the prosperous town of Grand Falls. This is typical of most funerals, where the mourners walk to the cemetery. As a rule, women do not go to the burial scene, although there is this one in the procession. The harbor of Buena Vista is too shallow for large boats to come in, so coal is brought in small dories and loaded onto carts. The jeep has been to many strange places in many lands. It is the ideal transportation for narrow roads of Newfoundland, and it seems right at home here among the nets drying on the fences and the fishing fleet in the background. These horse-drawn, two-wheeled, rubber-tired carts are a familiar sight on the cobblestoned Water Street of St. John's. Although there are quite a few cars and trucks in Newfoundland, one reason why these carts remain so popular for hauling is that gasoline costs around 50 cents a gallon. The street scene is in Windsor, a small railroad town in the center of the island. Street scene in St. John's. Traffic keeps to the left in Newfoundland. Street scene in St. John's. Traffic keeps to the left in Newfoundland, and trolleys run on a single track in the center of the street. At scheduled distances, there is a double track where cars going in opposite directions may pass. Almost every stream in this country has one or more falls in its course. This is a stream near Steady Brook. The manpower shortage has evidently affected Newfoundland too, and this woman markets the produce of her garden in the streets of St. John's. There are hundreds of streams like this in Newfoundland. All of the fish in them, in many, as in this one, salmon, come in to spawn. Result, some of the finest fishing in the world. This rushing brook near Corner Brook flows into a cavern and emerges again into daylight 3 miles further down. Exploits river scene with the powered dam for Grand Falls in the background. Sunset off Newfoundland coast where the high road winds along the Atlantic Ocean, often during summer nights.